Hi, welcome to my channel, A Lot to Tell. This is Renee. A long time ago, maybe 15 years or more, I remembered potential candidates used to come out, shake people's hands, have rallies, talk to people, see what their concerns are, their matters are, and I actually appreciated that. You know, the ones that wanted to be reelected and then the ones that wanted to get elected for the first time. And then after a while, with them being in office, they seem to have gotten comfortable. They not only ignore their constituents, especially their staff. You wouldn't believe how their staff has been treating me when I've been trying to make appointments to see the person elected to address my concerns. But they're like the frontliners. They're right there in the front, and they block you from getting an appointment with this person, or either they'll pretend like they're going to mention your concerns to this person, and then you start calling, nobody answers the phone, or either they pick up the phone and they hang up in your face. I don't know if these elected officials are aware of the way their staff is treating their constituents, but I know it's wrong. I start to say I think it's wrong. No, it is wrong. I mean, we're part of the voting crew. We voted you in office. Why wouldn't you want to meet us, your constituents, and let us address those concerns and do something about those concerns? How would it be if I had a job like that where I could be in the front line, I can answer the phone and choose who I want to speak to my boss or my employer and address those concerns, or I can just listen to your concerns and be nosy and just never put it anywhere where it could be seen, either in the trash or way on the back burner somewhere. Voting to me is very important. And I stopped voting for a long time. And maybe a lot of people might get mad with me, but I was tired of the Democrats doing what they were doing. I mean, I'm in their district for more than 20-something years. Never seen them do anything. And then I said, you know what, maybe we need a change. And what's so weird about it, when me and my daughter decided that we was going to vote, we voted for Trump. I might lose a lot of people saying that, but we did because we wanted a change, and he was talking about change. Now, sometimes we can make a mistake. Whether you vote Democrat or Republican, you expect them both still to do what they say they're going to do. And after 20 plus years, and I'm looking at the Democrats, and I'm not seeing anything whatsoever, something's wrong with that picture. It's always the same old, same old. Let's fix the potholes here. Let's put money in businesses. Let's put money in universities, like they don't already have enough money charging us high tuition fees. Why not put that money somewhere useful where it could be good? Now, I've heard teachers, they need to get the money and stuff for them, but it's the same thing, the same thing. If nothing haven't happened in 20 plus years with the same thing you're talking about, why not try something new? Like put more helpful organizations or agencies in place to help people going through natural disasters. Let me not mention the 501c3 programs just yet. Why not provide more assistance in certain zip codes instead of a little bit that can't help anybody and they run out of funds too quickly? But y'all want to put money into businesses that already have money and look down on those that don't. So now voting is broad. But what bothers me about the voting now, the only people that's coming out to rally or to meet people are the ones that are new because they want your vote. Just like the ones already in office 20 plus years, they already did that. So they've gotten so comfortable, they feel like you're going to keep voting for them over and over again. They ain't got to come out there and meet you. They don't have to hear you. They don't have to have questions and answers. They don't have to do rallies. They don't have to do anything because you've given them the title when you voted for them. And now they don't have to do nothing for you. Now they don't have to say nothing to you because they're too important to be near you now. We need to make them work harder to get our vote. Come back out here and meet us. Talk to us. Listen to us. Don't just hear. Listen. We have a lot of concerns to address. They're still making choices and decisions on our behalf, but ignoring the things that we ask and we address to them that we want to see changed. I already said, state and Texas legislatures are the ones who created those codes, penal codes, section codes, similar to black codes and Jim Crow laws. They're the ones that created those. So they're behind the doors coming up with things to prevent us from living, breathing, and making decisions on our own. They're coming up with things like, let's make choices to protect those over here, but we can leave them over there alone. They're making all of these decisions and choices on our behalf, when I thought they were supposed to be our voice. How are you going to be our voice speaking for something that only you want, or you think we want? Don't make it that easy for them. Let them actually come out and work for those votes. If they've been in office more than 5 years, you see no difference. Why are they still there? If they've been in there 10, 15, 20 years, and you see no difference, and you're going through the same thing that you went through 20 years ago, why are they still in office? Why are we still voting them in office? Now, the voter fraud doesn't surprise me. There is no other logical explanation to explain how people that have never done anything for anybody that's an elected official is still in office. God rest her soul, I met Sheila Jackson Lee. And I met her at a church that I used to belong to. And she showed up at the church to offer an award marker, because the church had been on that corner for a long time. And I figured, wow, they've been ignoring my emails and my calls. She's here. I can actually probably talk to her now. So I got out the choir stand when I saw her about to leave, and I went on the side of the church to meet her in the front. And when I saw her at the corner, she turned around and she looked at me. Here I am, anxious, and like, I can talk to this lady now. I can tell her what my concerns are and why her office has been ignoring me. But the closer I got to her, the more I wanted to walk away, because the look she gave me told me she did not want to talk to me. Like she was annoyed that I caught her all by herself. And I didn't know she was out there waiting on her vehicle to pick her up. And then when I got a little bit closer and I said, I would like to talk to you about a concern. And even though the annoyed look wasn't there anymore, but you can see she didn't want to talk, but because she's in the position that she's in, she felt like she better change her attitude just a little bit more. So when the driver finally shows up and I explain to her and the gentleman standing next to her, she looks at him and say, here's a constituent with a problem. Take her name and her phone number and we're going to do something about it. And I called this person a couple of days later and explained to him, you know, she said that you was going to help me. Well, here are my concerns. I told him about my concerns. A week or two later, still haven't heard from him. A month later, he makes the joke and says, well, everybody goes through problems like that. We can't change that. I don't know what to do. And I never heard from him or her again. I met Beto O'Rourke in person. And I talked to him about a few things because at the time it was about Blue Texas. And Blue Texas were looking for new candidates to run for office. And I thought that would be exciting since somebody invited me to go. And I decided to go, get a view of everything, talk to a few people. Didn't know they put my name on the list as a potential candidate because they liked what I was saying. But I got a few minutes with Mr. O'Rourke by himself. And after those few minutes, he went up there to speak, but I still had a few more concerns. But I noticed this lady that kept standing by him, taking pictures and all of that there. She seemed very protective of him, so she kept watching me. So I was like, am I supposed to go over there by him, or is she going to stop me from doing that? So to get a second chance, I got in line to take a picture. And I started talking to him about the corrupted courts and judges and stuff like that. You know what? I noticed a lot of people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear about us going through corruption. So she comes over, she leans in my face and stops me from talking to him and say, here, take my card. You can get back in touch with me. And we'll see what it is that we can do or try to reach the right people for you. I said, thank you. Let me go get my business card and I'll give it to you so that when I try to contact you, you'll know who I am. Oh, sure, that'll be fine. I gave her my card. A week or so later, I gave up on the Blue Texas, thinking nobody would ever call me anyway, even though I would have loved doing the job. And the next thing that I know, a lady leaves a message on my phone and says, wow, you was elected. We need to have an interview with you. I had my first interview with a lady in New York City. It was a Zoom interview. And afterwards, she said that she liked what I said. Somebody would probably get in touch with me soon relating to the second interview. I waited. I'm always waiting. I was so excited. I told my family about it. Not everybody, just my family. Wow, I could be a potential candidate to run for office and make some changes. And when she didn't ever get back in touch with me relating to that second interview, I started texting, still no response. Finally, I sent another text, then I called, no response. Finally, I called, and then she called me back and said, we decided to go with someone else because we need someone in office to run against, no, to help make decisions in the House of Speakers that would vote against anything that Trump presented. Here I am thinking that we would get it elected, you know, so that we can make a better, greater good of the world or either our district for our constituents. I didn't know that y'all were just looking for us to fight against Trump, you know, to make sure that there's enough people in the House, Democrats namely. And I wasn't the candidate for that position. You know, if I would have got elected, I wouldn't have done that anyway. I like the thought and idea of asking the constituents what they want, not sit there like a robot and have somebody else tell me, hey, vote this way or that way. And then what happens if I don't vote this way or that way? Y'all take the election from me? We're not children. We're not kids. We're not animals. We should be able to make our own decisions, and maybe that's why they didn't select me. Too many rules and laws and regulations. Now I found out that even if you do get elected, you cannot even hire somebody from your own family. Some family members are more worth trusting than people that I've never met before in my life. But they put a stipulation now. Now that's where they messed up, because I found out a lot of people in office have hired family members that they were not supposed to. And you know how they get away with it? Nobody knows. And they sure ain't finna tell the state that they're doing that. You help your own. But if somebody else get elected, they're not supposed to do that. Fair is fair. Let's be fair. So what I did was I finally signed up as independent candidate. Filled out the declaration form, did all of that. But somebody misguided me when I submitted in that application and that declaration on time and had me put in for any district that I wanted to, especially one that I grew up in that needed the most help, and said I could not run for that district because I'm no longer staying in that district. So we can't go back to our roots where we grew up at, knowing that's where the main help is, and you got somebody there in office for that district that's still ignoring them when I was in that district. Maybe I can try again 2 years from now and stop listening to people misinforming me the wrong way. evidently they don't want change. They want things to stay mediocre right where it is, because the more they hang on to us, the more power we give them, the more control we give them to say how they get to run the district, what they get to do for this person, what they don't have to do for the other person. Voting is important, but we need to let them work for our vote, not just give it to them on a silver platter, to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. I don't like greeting people anymore just because they say that they're in office and they're this big and important whatever. I went to an event one time and it was filled with judges, the elected ones and the ones that's new, and elected state and government officials, all in this one area. And they said they was going to invite a speaker so that we could ask questions. Nobody answered questions, but they called out every person that was important, and they stood up and took a bow like royalty. And I guess you better treat them like that. Now, with all these judges, state representatives, and the government officials all in one building, I was like, wow, I am in this building. Well, since we can ask questions, I have a question. So after the gentleman, the speaker of the evening, addressed the floor and said, does anybody have any questions? At first I started not to say anything. Nobody raised up their hands. Nobody said anything. And finally I did. And I caught this person off guard so much he actually stuttered. Because my question was, if our constitutional rights are violated, what do we do when it concerns a judge throwing out cases with key evidence? Because don't forget, this event is full of judges and all these officials. It got so quiet. The man on the stage didn't really know how to respond to me, that someone stood up and made a joke just to break the ice. And then he was like, well, you know, I can't give you legal advice. I said, sir, excuse me, but I am aware of that fact. I said I was not asking for legal advice. He never answered it. He beat around the bush, but he kept looking over there at the judges like he was addressing and talking to them instead of looking at me that asked them the question. There was only like 4 black people in this event. I didn't sugarcoat anything, and I didn't bite my tongue. And he talked about something over and over again that did not pertain to the question that I asked him. And after that, he didn't open the floor anymore, and I didn't ask any more questions. And when it was time to leave, everybody walked off in their own direction like I had the plague. Because y'all know this crap and mess is going on. And nobody offered sympathy or direction of who to contact and what to do. And I'm tired of voting for people that ignore real concerns of their constituents and their districts. And I've been in more than one district. And it's stupid. I have not seen no changes whatsoever. So I thought voting in a different territory would be a little different. I'll admit some of the Republicans in this area I've seen make some progress, but then a lot of them don't. I haven't. I asked someone to get in touch with the Department of Justice on my behalf because they're not answering phones. They seem to get out there and want to vote against offices about voting and injustices, and then they say they have a civil rights department. I wrote to all of y'all, still got the emails to prove it, and still ain't nobody contacted me. This been more than 4 years. Is the DOJ, the Department of Justice, separate also? So what are all of these offices implemented for? What are they doing? Just getting paid? Come out when it's important? I ain't just talking to the young people. I'm talking to anybody that's listening to me. Not trying to start a war. That's the last thing that's on my mind. Not trying to get rebellious or pick up guns and knives. That ain't none of me. That's not what I'm asking and looking for. Justice is what I'm looking for. Fairness is what I'm looking for. People that get in office, they say that they are our voice, and they are not. Right now, thank God, I'm using my own voice without the help from them in addressing those concerns with people who will listen to me. And whether it's received or rejected about what I say, I have to be me. I have to speak on what I believe in. I would rather be a leader than a follower, where people hold me on strings like a puppet and tell me which direction to go in or who to vote for. And, oh, this my friend over here, don't go over there. We are not kids anymore. We are grown people. Why are we still thinking with a childlike mentality for the good and great of the whole world?